This is Jeff Reinke, and I'm the marriage and family pastor. And as we come out of the Easter weekend, and boy, what a great weekend it was, and that of meditating and contemplating the death of Christ and the gift and the profound benefits that we've experienced through his death, but also as we move into Sunday is the resurrection, the promise that we've been given that we have a new hope, a new life, and a new beginning, a new name, that everything becomes new. But as we move on from that weekend, I don't want us to lose sight of, I believe, this amazing gift that God has given us, an understanding what it means to be a follower of Jesus Christ. And we're going to be looking at Jeremiah chapter 8. And I believe this gift is described through the life of Jeremiah, and it's called the gift of sorrows. Yes, the gift of sorrows. I believe the gift of sorrows is this deep treasure within every heart of a believer and the soul of every believer that's dug deep within the soil, that when we can begin to understand that through our losses and our suffering and our pain is in many ways is a gift from God, that as we cry out to him, that we experience in a deeper way, we experience his grace and his comfort. As we look at Jeremiah in chapter 8, I want you to begin to understand that Jeremiah, as we know, is infamously known as the weeping prophet, that he was called before the foundations of the world. He was called by God in order to be a prophet to be able to speak into the darkness of this nation that had turned their back on God. But we also know that when we talk about Jesus, that he was described in Isaiah chapter 53. He was a man of sorrows who's acquainted with all our grief. But let us look at Jeremiah chapter 8. It says, Jeremiah was chosen by God to speak these words. They dress the wound of my people as though it were not serious. Peace, peace, they say, when there is no peace. He's speaking about the leaders, the political leaders and the priests of the nation of Israel. They were saying, hey, peace, peace, but there's no peace. And then we see that there's change within Jeremiah in his heart and his soul. He begins to personally in his humanity embrace the crisis and the suffering. And he says, you who are my comforter in sorrow, my heart is faint within me. Listen to the cry of my people from a land far away. Is the Lord not in Zion? Since my people are crushed, I am crushed. I mourn the horrors that grip me. Is there no balm of Gilead? Is there no physician there? Is there no healing from the wound of my people? That's a powerful prophetic question. Is there no healing for the wound of my people? Jeremiah, in his own anguish and his suffering, dealing with not only persecution, he was jailed and experienced physical and emotional abuse. Is it he too's crying out to God? And I'm sure, like many of us in our pain, feeling all alone. But Jeremiah was not alone. When he was experiencing the pain and the suffering of his people, as he was carrying the anguish of the persecution and that of the mockery and the false accusation, he also realized he was not alone. So it is with you and I. When we experience loss and suffering, it is normal for us to feel all alone, but we're not all alone. God is there with us. And the gift that God's given to us in that of the gift of sorrow is the journey of sorrow leads us to great joy. We know that in Ecclesiastes, it says that there's a time for sorrow and there's a time for dancing. And so the good news is that through mourning, you can experience great joy. The doorway to peace and comfort is through the gift of sorrow and mourning. There's a time to weep and there's a time to laugh. There's a time to mourn and then there is a time to dance. Mourning and dancing. The mystery is all one part of the redemptive plan of God through his grace. So in conclusion, the journey of being a follower of Jesus Christ is learning how to go from sorrow to joy. But then lastly is that by us experiencing God's presence in our life as we grieve and we cry out to God in a place of desperation, is then we're to connect our suffering with others. That's the beauty of the sacredness of God's community, is that through our own suffering that God comforts us in order for us to comfort others. Compassion, we know, is means to suffer with. So to be a disciple of Christ means living in a sacred community, in sharing in the losses and the joy of others. To embrace your loss is not an enemy, but to embrace your loss is to be a friend that through grief, we can experience a deeper sense of the presence and the grace and the comfort of God. So I pray that you would realize that God is training you and preparing us all in these last days in a season of great sorrow, great loss, which is the new norm, for us to be a catalytic agent of the light and the grace and the comfort of God to help others. I pray that you'd have a great day. God bless.